You're watching Inside Durango News, your source for information about Southwest Colorado. Brought to you by Oxford Asset Management, inspiring confidence, growing dreams. Oxford Asset Management.
Fort Lewis College students ask for uni-sex bathrooms. Ski-joring returns to Silverton on President's Day weekend, and we'll visit with Wolfwood Refuge. In this edition of Inside Durango News, I'm Ashley Dixon. The 436,000 acres of federal land in La Plata County provide us with mountains to climb, trails to hike, and landscapes to admire. The opportunities that federal lands offer are among the reasons that many of us have chosen to live in Southwest Colorado. But that federal land comes with a cost, particularly to local counties. Unlike private property, federal lands are exempt from local property taxes, the main source of revenue for La Plata County. And yet the county still has to provide roads, emergency services, and other infrastructure associated with federal property. That's why the government established the Payment in Lieu of Taxes Fund, or PILT funds. Signed into law in October of 1976, the PILT program provides federal funds to local counties to offset the loss of property tax revenues from federal lands located within the county boundaries. In Colorado, federal lands, including those operated by the Bureau of Land Management, the U.S. Forest Service, and the National Park Service, total nearly 24 million acres. Last year, 90% of Colorado counties received PILT payments, totaling $32 million. So it came as a surprise to La Plata County officials when they learned that more than $600,000 in PILT funds had been cut in the original 2014 federal omnibus budget. That represented yet another county budget blow to the county, which expects to lose $2.4 million in property tax revenues in 2014 because of a decline in natural gas production. In late January, the county commissioners penned a letter to Senators Michael Bennet, Senator Mark Udall, and Congressman Scott Tipton, urging their offices to seek alternative legislation to restore PILT funding in 2014 and beyond. And our congressional representatives came through. In a fourth quarter bipartisan effort, Bennet and Udall heralded the inclusion of a one-year extension of PILT funding as part of the Farm Bill. Obama signed the bill on February 7th, restoring the $600,000 to the county's revenues, along with some $410 million of PILT funding throughout the country. Both Bennet and Udall called the reinstatement of PILT funding a major victory for Colorado communities, but were quick to note that this year's bill provides only a short-term fix for a long-term problem for rural counties. And when La Plata County already is suffering from a lost property tax revenue, loss of PILT funding in the years to come could mean even more cuts to programs and services in our community. An environmental impact study on the Four Corners power plant and the Navajo coal mine that supplies its fuel is expected to be released this spring, 50 years after the plant fired up its first stack. The impact study is the first comprehensive environmental analysis of the power plant and mine complex since it opened in 1963. The National Environmental Policy Act didn't exist then and wouldn't be signed into law until 1970. So why now, 50 years after the fact? The Arizona Public Service Company, which operates the power plant, filed for an amendment to extend the plant's lease with the Navajo Nation. The power plant and mine are located on Navajo land in New Mexico. APS wants to extend the lease to 2041. In addition, APS has applied for right-of-way renewals for energy transmission lines owned by public service companies in Arizona and New Mexico, and it wants to open up mining on a new 5,800-acre area within the current Navajo mine lease. The expansion will supply coal to the power plant for another 25 years. The application drew the ire of a number of environmental groups, and in the summer of 2012, the Federal Office of Surface Mining and Reclamation announced plans to prepare an environmental impact statement on the power plant and the mine expansion. It will be the first comprehensive environmental analysis of the entire coal complex impact in its 50-year history. The process is well underway. The Office of Surface Mining and Reclamation hosted a series of 9 public scoping meetings in the summer of 2012 to identify public concerns about the power plant's continued operation. In addition to gathering feedback from stakeholders, the OSM will consult with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to determine potential environmental impacts to threatened and endangered species like the Colorado pike minnow, the badger, and the kit fox. The EIS will also assess air quality and monitor emissions of nitrogen oxides, which cause ozone pollution, health risks, and pollution to soil, groundwater, and estuaries. Water quality and use will be another topic in the environmental impact statement. That's because the Navajo Coal Company has applied for a U.S. Army Corps of Engineers permit to discharge fill material into area waterways at a number of disposal sites. Water usage is at the heart of effort by the San Juan Citizens Alliance to include sustainable energy technologies as an alternative in the environmental impact statement. The Four Corners Power Plant draws water from the San Juan River to cool the coal-burning plant, and as a result places serious strain on a critical resource to residents here in the Southwest. According to the OSM website, a draft EIS will be available this spring. After the draft is released, the public will have 45 days to comment. The Four Corners Power Plant is one of the largest coal-fired electrical generation stations in the United States. It provides power to more than 500,000 households in California, Texas, Utah, Arizona, and New Mexico. When you gotta go, you gotta go. But stopping into a restroom isn't all that easy when you're a transgendered or gendered nonconforming person. Which do you choose, the men's or the women's room? And what kind of harassment will you face if you choose the wrong one? The gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, and questioning community at Fort Lewis College wants to make the choice easier with the designation of at least one unisex restroom in each public campus building. It's a civil rights issue, says representatives, and a safety issue. FLC intern and Inside Durango News correspondent Jordan Alexander recently met with one of the movement's lead voices, Charles Egan, to discuss the unisex restroom proposal.
It can be a little frightening to use gendered bathrooms when you're trans. It's where you get a lot of harassment, both verbal and physical. Luckily, Fort Lewis has not had a whole lot of problems with that, but it's very nerve-wracking.
While some of our viewers may think this is a non-issue, restrooms actually have been the focal point of many civil rights debates during the past 65 years. In the 1950s, civil rights activists fought to end the practice of prohibiting African Americans from using white bathrooms. In the 1970s, the feminist movement focused on employers who failed to provide adequate restroom facilities for the growing female workforce. And in the 1980s, the disability rights movement resulted in wheelchair-accessible restrooms everywhere. The call for unisex restrooms is the next phase in civil rights demands to ensure that all people, regardless of sexual orientation or gender, have equal access to public facilities. And as with most civil rights changes, they tend to benefit more than the targeted community, says Egan.
But truly, this benefits not only people who are LGBTQ, but it helps people who have disabilities as well, and they have caretakers. That way, their caretakers can get in and out of the bathroom with them as well, without getting harassed about that if they're a different gender.
Okay. And the cost? Fort Lewis Physical Plant have quoted the signage at roughly $200 per unit if they are to comply with Fort Lewis design standards. Egan says there are cheaper options available online, but the final decision on aesthetics comes down to the college. So for the 10 academic buildings identified as viable options for a bathroom change, total cost could eclipse $2,000. So far, the FLC Student Senate has endorsed the request. The next step will be to present the proposal to Vice President of Student Affairs, Glenna Sexton. We'll follow this story as more unfolds. One down, 99 more to go. Solarize La Plata, an all-volunteer advocacy group that wants to power 100 homes with solar electricity by June, recently celebrated the first installation of a home photovoltaic system under its new program. Solarize La Plata held a small ceremony on February 5th, acknowledging the installation at the Hunter Swanson home in Bayfield. La Plata Electric Association officials, along with John Shaw of Shaw Solar, accepted accolades from Solarize La Plata chairman Robert Lee. Solarize La Plata is an initiative developed by concerned citizens who want to increase the use of solar power in the county. The group, working with Four Corners Office for Resource Efficiency, built a collaborative of solar contractors and banks to offer area residents solar installations at reduced costs. 5 solar contractors, including Durango Solar Works, Living Solar, Flat Rock Solar, Shaw Solar, and Solar Today and Tomorrow, offered below-market pricing on photovoltaic systems, and First Southwest Bank and First National Bank of Durango offered discounted loans to purchase and install them. Residents who install solar under the program receive a 30% tax credit, said Lee. More importantly, the solar system generates power for all of their electrical needs and reduces their electrical bills. It takes about 5 to 7 years for the difference in your electrical bill to pay for the installation. In addition to vetting the solar contractors and banks, Solarize La Plata volunteers walk homeowners through the steps of applying for and installing their solar systems. Interested homeowners should plan to keep their homes for the next 5 to 7 years. The house should have a sturdy roof that won't require replacement for the next 25 years, and, of course, the household should receive sunshine during the day. Prices start at $16,000 for a 4-kilowatt system, but after the tax credit and initial electrical usage savings, the net price to purchase the system is $11,000. Currently, 500 homes out of 41,000 residential customers use solar energy in the La Plata Electric Association system. Solarize La Plata hopes to increase that number by another 100 homes by June. And as an incentive, Shaw Solar will donate free solar systems to the Women's Resource Center and the Boys and Girls Club of La Plata County after the 50th Solarize La Plata system is installed. So if you'd like to participate in the Solarize La Plata program, contact 4Corps at 259-1916 or 4corps.org. Up next, a howling good time at Wolfwood.
Whether you make your plans over a barbed wire fence or over wireless internet, if you're coming from the stockyard or the stock exchange, Durango is right at home at the Diamond Bell, timeless and timely.
For natural and organic vitamins and supplements and health and beauty products, there's no better place than Nature's Oasis. We offer an experienced staff, nutrition and supplement education, and exclusive products. Nature's Oasis, home to the largest selections of vitamins and supplements in the Four Corners region.
Introducing the Southwest Colorado Winter Guide, a great source for information about restaurants, activities, entertainment, and winter events. Pick one up and get the inside scoop on what's going on. From Cortez to Durango, from Pagosa Springs to Silverton, and every interesting attraction along the way. The Southwest Colorado Winter Guide is a free publication of the Durango Herald, available all over town.
You're watching Inside Durango News. I'm Ashley Dixon. Wolves are not pets, nor are wolf-dog hybrids, yet there are people in this world who think they are, and when they find that they've made a mistake, Wolfwood's here to pick up the pieces. Then stay tuned with our visit for the representative from the Silverton Ski-Joring event this weekend.
So I am Paula Watson, and I am the co-owner and director of Wolfwood Rescue. We are a state and federally licensed rescue for wolves and wolf dogs located here in La Plata County. Right now we have 64 animals here, and we've been rescuing for almost 20 years, so we've been doing it a really long time. We are a nonprofit organization, so we don't breed the animals, we don't sell the animals, it's all strictly rescue. The first thing we do is work on their physical rehabilitation, and depending on how damaged they are when we get them, all of our animals, almost all of them, are severe abuse, are severe abuse cases. And so we have to deal with a lot of physical abuse. Then we have to deal with a lot of emotional and mental abuse. So this is Ra, and this is his sister Tala. Ra and Tala also came from Alaska. They're 4 years old, so they are in their prime. They are full grown. Ra is everything a full-grown male wolf should be. His name is Ra, both after the Egyptian sun god, but also because all he did when we first met him was go raw at us. We had to use bite gloves in the beginning. Ra is what we call a fear biter. His first response to being really scared is to snap. This is the product of a lot of one-on-one time. These animals, the Attorney General of Alaska called us and said that they were going to shut down this place in Alaska, but asked if we could get the 9 babies out before they became evidence in a court case. So we launched a massive rescue and got all these guys out before they could be destroyed and before the guy was shut down, and now they are. So that's a good thing. Hi, dear. Hi, Pumpkin. Hi, Pumpkin. So these guys were actually kept with over 130 other animals. They were kept in small airline crates and stacked in a warehouse. They were not allowed out of the crates. They never saw sun because they were locked in a giant warehouse, just row on row on row of these animals. So I don't know how long it's been since they were able to run or move at all. As you can see, they're very, very happy to be here at Wolfwood. These guys are examples of wolf dogs. We classify them as high, medium, and low. I would say that Jill is a medium. Jill and Kodiak are kind of a low-medium range. So they probably have more dog in them than they do wolf. Wolves have to actually be taught how to hunt. They actually have to be taught how to function within specific packs. If you take them away from their parents, they have no idea how to be real wolves. They haven't learned. So this group did not have a parental or a alpha situation to be raised with. So Oakley is alpha by default. Because he was so much bigger than the rest of them, they just sort of treated him like an adult, and that just sort of continued.
You know, I'm trying to have a pretty hairdo for the camera.
It was quite a challenge to get these guys to be able to calm down enough and teach them enough manners that they could at least interact, huh? I know. One of our goals is public education. We really, really want to teach children that wolves are not vicious man killers, but they're also not cuddly Disney animals. That wolves are what they are, which is apex predators, which means they are at the very top of the food chain. And we also, everywhere we go, we try to teach people that wolves do not belong in your living room. And so we always tell the kids when we work with all of our school groups here in La Plata County, we tell them, put us out of business. You know, we don't want to have a rescue. We don't want there to be hurt and abused animals in the world. And one of the ways to stop that at the beginning is not to have exotic animals in your home. Have dogs and cats that are good companions for humans in their homes.
What beautiful animals. If you'd like to meet Paula Watson and some of her charges in person, she'll be at Fort Lewis College on Thursday, February 27th to present a program called Refuge, Living and Working with Rescued Wolves. Her presentation begins at 7 p.m. at 130 Noble Hall. You can find out more at fortlewis.edu or at wolfwoodrefuge.org. In our studio today, we have Pete Maisel from Silverton Ski-Joring talking about an event that they have coming up this President's Day weekend that I think is pretty cool. So thank you so much, Pete, for joining us.
Thank you.
So we're talking about the Silverton Ski-Joring. And for a lot of people who might not be from Colorado or for the West, they might not know what ski-joring is. Can you give us kind of the rundown of what ski-joring is?
Basically, ski-joring has a long and rich history, but what we have now is the Western version of it. And it's basically horses of race horses with really good skiers behind them and a rope, and they get pulled by that horse through a standardized course with jumps and crazy gates and rings and things like that.
And so people might think that that's kind of tame, but I've seen this in person, and those horses get going really fast.
They're like 40-mile-an-hour horses.
Yeah, it's no joke.
It's wild, yeah. And you have to be a really good skier to hang on and get to the course, and it's timed and yeah.
And it's a great spectator sport,
yeah.
I think. Awesome. So this is the 5th annual Silverton Ski-Joring event. How did this event get started in Silverton?
You know, a friend of mine, Rob Conity, and myself, who's one of the main contestants, he was on the Durango Ski-Joring Association, and they were going to basically lose it. Not enough snow, they didn't have a venue, and he said, you know, we don't want to lose this event. He said, Pete, what do you think about bringing it to Silverton? So him and I just brought it to Silverton.
And now you say not having enough snow. A lot of people in town, you know, we're talking about how much of a dry winter, but you came down from Silverton and it's a very different world up there right now.
Very different. Yeah.
Lots of snow.
Lots of snow. Just got about 1.5 feet in town, and you know, Silverton Mountain got almost 60 inches.
So I think the timing's probably good for this event this weekend, huh?
Excellent.
So now you talk about all the competitors that were coming in, and before the interview you talked about maybe about 20 to 25 competitors is what you're expecting?
That's what we're hoping, actual teams.
Okay.
So horses and skiers. Yeah.
And they're not just going for bragging rights. I hear there's some pretty good money on the line as well.
We have a $5,000 purse right now, and that may go up as you know, the more entrants we have.
Nice.
So that's pretty good.
I was going to say, that's a pretty good prize, I would think, for teams.
Yeah.
Now, we talked about this being a great spectator sport, and I know families with young kids love to come, but there are some people, or not people, but members of the family that might not be allowed, and I'm talking about dogs.
And that's the family dog, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure that poses a problem.
And it's not because we don't love dogs, we do love dogs. Dogs and racehorses don't mix.
Yeah.
It can be dangerous for everybody involved. So we ask they leave it at home.
Yeah, that's probably best. So for the events, I know it's going on this Saturday and Sunday. What time does it all start? What time's a good time for get there?
A good time to get there is about 9 or 10 in the morning. The actual first race will kick off at 11.
Okay.
It runs till about 2 o'clock. We run what's called the open and the novice, the pros and the novice. The pros, we run them first just to get people's blood boiling and things going. You know, it's pretty Western, and the same for Sunday. It's about 11 to 2.
Yeah.
So it's not real long, but it's fast and furious.
So are there any epic crashes?
You know, we have a great vet. We've had not one horse go down, and knock on wood, I don't want that to ever happen. We've had a few. You know, we've had some wrecks.
As with any sport.
Bad. Yeah. But, you know,
but not too bad.
Always a possibility. Yeah.
Nice. So it's going on this weekend. For people that are interested in kind of getting more information about Silverton Ski-Joring or where they can go in Silverton, what's a good place for them to go?
The actual website, and you may
skijoringsilverton.com.
Yeah.
So pretty easy, and I'm sure if you just type in Google, it'll be easy to get to as well.
That, or they can contact myself or Laura, and my cell number is 970-759-9291.
Perfect. So you're probably gearing up for a pretty good weekend, and I'm glad you guys have snow because that should make it even better for the spectators.
It's supposed to be a beautiful weekend.
Oh, so the timing's
40
great.
or 45 degrees.
Awesome.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Well, I know that our crews over at IDTV are going to head up there as well to kind of check out some of the action, so we're definitely looking forward to it.
Excellent.
Well, thanks for coming in, Pete.
Thanks for having me.
We're back next with your weekly updates.
Visit the scenic town of Silverton and take a Jeep tour through the heart of the majestic San Juan Mountains with San Juan Backcountry Tours. Visitors can get behind the wheel and explore the mountain roads on their own, or sit back on guided tours that take you through the rich history of the area, including the ghost town Animas Forks. You can rent a Jeep, ATV, dirt bike, or we can take you on a guided tour in one of our open-top Suburbans. Enjoy the spectacular scenery from 9,000 feet all the way to 13,000 feet in elevation. The San Juans have many scenic routes and four-wheel drive passes to explore, and our experienced staff can provide maps and suggest the best routes to get you where you want to go. We guarantee you a fun and memorable experience. Come explore the historic sights and beautiful scenery of the San Juan Mountains at San Juan Backcountry Tours.
Welcome back to Inside Durango News. I'm Ashley Dixon. Here are your weekly updates. Durango Nature Studies will host a full moon snowshoe tour on Valentine's Day. The tour starts at 5 p.m. at the Chris Park Campground at Haviland Lake. The guided tour will cover nocturnal animals, local landforms, and cool moon facts and legends. Make a reservation online at durangonaturestudies.org. The League of Women Voters will host a legislative lowdown with State Senator Ellen Roberts and Representative Mike McLaughlin starting at 9:30 a.m. on Saturday, February 15th at the Durango Public Library. Coffee, tea, and security will be provided. Roberts and McLaughlin will answer written questions. For more information, visit the League's website at lwvlaplata.org. The Purgatory Nordic Center will host a Nordic ski races and a fat tire bike race on Saturday, February 15th. The fat tire bike race begins at 10 a.m. Cost is $15 for adults, $8 for juniors. For more information, contact the Durango Nordic Ski Club at durangonordic.org. And that's it for this week's Community Updates. The Community Calendar is brought to you by what'shappeningdurango.com. Post your free event today and join the one-stop, easy-to-use events calendar for Durango. Join us next week when we bring you the results of the Silverton Ski-Joring Competition and we go ice climbing with Backcountry Experience. I'm Ashley Dixon. Thanks for watching Inside Durango News, and remember, just watch us. You'll like what you see.
Tune in weekly to watch Inside Durango News, your source for information about what's going on in Southwest Colorado. Inside Durango News has been brought to you by Oxford Asset Management, inspiring confidence, growing dreams. Oxford Asset Management.